Alrighty, so we are live at this point on, and I will go ahead and get started with what we have for our discussion on what we're needing to cover. I guess the first thing I need to just double check is I want to see if everyone kind of understands this sexual harassment background. So I was going to see if any of you wanted to share some of your insights from with what you learned about the sexual harassment laws.
Well, I think it's something that needs to be taken care of immediately.
Okay.
And it's something that should not be allowed to go on any longer than you. As soon as he finds out about it, it needs to be dealt with and taken care of immediately.
Yeah.
Like when he called their legal counsel, he said, as soon as you call them, he has to report it. Because later they could come back and say, well, you knew about it, but you didn't do anything about it, and you let it continue. So you're just as liable as they are. So, yeah, they need to do something immediately.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add to that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're okay.
Yeah, at all. That's my 2 cents.
Yep. No, it's a good 2 cents. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, would anyone like to give a definition of what sexual harassment is?
Anyone can feel free to add to it, but simply it could be an action, or it can also, of course, be through words. So whether through action or through words, either harassing someone of the same gender sexually, whether touching parts of the body or suggestive things in that sort, or making someone of the same sex or opposite sex uncomfortable because of a word or an action which you did.
There's also 2 different kinds of harassment.
Mm-hmm.
One is quid pro quo. If you do this for me, I'll do this for you, like give you promotion or let you keep your job. Or in just plain sexual harassment, just nobody will see this. I just, do it and keep your mouth shut. Nobody's going to believe you anyway, that kind of thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Those were really good definitions. With that, I feel we're ready to go ahead and kind of start with the case. And I just wanted to make sure everyone kind of had a basic understanding, or if they had any questions, now would be the time to ask it. So then with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the case. It says, based on Martina's story, does her situation constitute sexual harassment?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you all feel that her situation contains or constitutes sexual harassment? Anyone want to elaborate on how it would be that way?
Yeah, he's doing creepy things. He's doing things that she doesn't like, makes her uncomfortable, and he actually did things that were very inappropriate. All of that constitutes, even just even saying stuff is sexual harassment. But he was doing more than that. He's making her uncomfortable.
And it was unwanted.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good part of it too. Is unwanted, uncalled for, unasked for. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. And then with that in mind, would you say that the sexual harassment is essentially a quid pro quo or more of a hostile work environment?
A hostile work environment.
I agree. It's hostile work environment. Even though she says she's afraid she might lose her job if she says something, I think the laws in place would protect that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the fact that she's worried. She shouldn't have to worry about losing her job because it's nothing she did.
Exactly.
So.
Perfect. That's exactly what it just kind of said here in my notes. So you guys hit that all dead on. So
Maybe
then
we read your notes.
Yeah. With that in mind, I'm going to start over to the next question. And basically, this just says, from reading the note on sexual harassment, do you think, oh, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm sorry, everyone. If you know how to say it, please let me know. De Coste?
That's close. Yeah, that's good. De Coste?
Okay, cool. We'll go with that. Do you think De Coste got accurate advice when he called the council's office?
Yeah.
I think so.
What's that?
I definitely think so.
Yeah, I do too. So, and I don't think he realized how big of the mess this could become if something wasn't done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he understood I don't think he understood the magnitude or, some of the things that would happen if he hadn't reported it.
If no actions were taken and it got worse, or just kept going, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was going to say how quickly this can escalate. So.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then involve even more people because they didn't say anything.
Exactly.
They knew about it, but they didn't say anything. He didn't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then for example, I want you guys to just kind of put yourselves in this case and just think, if you were a lawyer representing the company, what would you insist on instituting for a formal investigatory process? And if that doesn't quite make sense, let me know. I will just re-explain it simply.
Basically, you're just saying what would they need to do to find out, to get to the bottom of this. Basically,
correct.
Who would they have to talk to? They'd have to talk to DaCosta. They'd have to talk to what's her name?
Martinez.
Yes, Martinez.
Yeah.
Julia.
Yeah, they'd have to talk to her, and then they'd have to talk to the person that wrote that overheard the conversation. I think that's the only people to know about it.
I think so. That, and then I believe Martinez's sister, the lady that she called while she was at work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but would they be able to bring her in since she's not an employee there? I guess they could.
They could, to a degree, just because she was called on the job. In my own personal opinion, I figure if it were to become an investigation and the lawyer was checking phone records, they wouldn't realize that Martinez ended up calling her sister during work hours, and that's when they would kind of say, hey, why are you calling your sister? Because I don't think the sister was really a client, just it was a personal phone call.
And I think during the course of an investigation, everything comes to light. It's just the nature of that kind of stuff.
I guess it depends on what level of an investigation they did.
That's true. Yeah.
Whether it was like an FBI investigation or like I guess to what extent.
Well, I guess it'd be an internal investigation first and find out just exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if they need to press criminal charges, bring in the appropriate agencies involved. So, yeah.
Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about De Coste's dilemma to a degree. Does anyone have any, well, actually not anyone. I want to hear everyone's opinion about how would you evaluate Jack De Costa's opinions at this point? What do you think he should honestly do?
I think he has an obligation to report it.
I think if I were him, I would talk to Martinez and just tell her, listen, you're in a bad situation. Like, I guess it's hard to say that Costa would know sexual harassment laws, but try to explain to her job is going to be safe, that this is going to lead to betterment. And even if she flipped out, I wouldn't be able to just slide it under the rug. I'd go forward with it.
Remember, she's also worried about her husband. When her husband find out, what he would do.
Oh yeah, that would be scary.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys read the ending of this either.
Oh, where was there an ending?
Yeah, there was instructions for the team discussion leader.
Oh.
how the case ended. This is a real case.
Oh, now I'm
It just
interested.
talks about how it all ended, right?
Yeah. For those who haven't read it, don't worry. I will share it with you. That way we can figure out exactly what happened. And then I think there's a section where we can kind of do like a role play scenario where we can, in a sense, come up with policies or something like that to help prevent incidents like that in the future.
Right. Yeah.
And just assuming we're all in agreement that DeCosto should have reported it to the EEO office.
Yeah.
Oh, he had an immediate obligation, especially since this is probably a spoiler, but when he called the lawyer, they said they had caller ID and they figured out who it was anyway.
Right. Okay, so then bearing that in mind that you were wanting to go and report it, even though it is an obligation, what would you explain to Julia Martinez about your decision? And then with that in mind, would you also be willing to get her fired over this by going forward with that? I know that's kind of a tough one.
I personally don't think she needs to worry about getting fired because it's nothing she did. I think I would reassure her, say, no, this is something that needs to stop now, and you don't have to worry about your job because you were not the one doing this to somebody else.
Yeah. I would explain to her, I would give her the flip side of the coin. What would your husband say if he thought you were allowing this?
Ooh, that's a really good point. I didn't even
true.
consider that.
I just think
Yeah.
if I were married and that were happening to my wife and she just allowed it because she was afraid I'd freak out, I would freak out even worse that she was allowing it.
It would be, yeah. I'd much rather she tell me about it than hide it. What's that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can go ahead.
That's okay. I'm done now. I just said I wouldn't want my wife to hide it from me either. I'd rather she tell me.
I was just going to say, I also think that if she were fired, she has a suit to claim that she was wrongfully terminated based on.
Oh, yeah.
Exact. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah.
Perfect. And you just brought up an excellent point, Erin. So you said that if she were to get fired, it would technically be illegal because in a sense it's retaliation. So my question to that, and I'm not trying to make you feel put on the spot, it's just a perfect point I want to bring about. What proof do you have that there has been harassment, if you don't mind me asking?
At this point, there's just her word that she's.
Okay.
But I also, by her demeanor when she was talking on the phone to her sister, that's, it was kind of like she was really struggling with this. So, I mean, it's not like she was just like, yeah, he was, doing some stuff. She was like, he was touching me and doing all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, whereas there's like no physical proof, there's her, and the fact that DaCosta or whoever overheard it and saw her demeanor and saw that she was really upset.
Oh yeah, I agree. That right there is proof right there.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. And you answered that perfectly. I did want to say a lot of times with what I've seen just with others that have gone through this, a lot of times their psychological state and how they're able to handle that situation or even afterwards does say a lot about how that treatment was, whether it was expected or whether it was encouraged or not. And so with what you were able to say, Erin, that was perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
All righty. And then I want to see just kind of, yeah, we covered that. Also, just a quick question. Do you feel that filing a harassment claim would prevent her from ever being fired in this situation?
Prevent her from getting fired because of this?
Yeah,
Or
so in a sense,
fired for other reasons.
most likely just for essentially being fired for filing a harassment claim.
Nope, she won't get fired for that.
Well, it's proof that she's a victim.
Yeah. I don't think she has to worry about that.
Perfect. And I know over here it said a section about DeCosta's ethical duties. No one really said that he shouldn't do anything, so for this I'm just going to kind of skip it. And then let's see.
No, I think he has an obligation to do something when he finds out about it.
Yeah.
I don't think he has any other choice.
I think he has a moral obligation and obligation to his company.
Yeah, they
And
can't
you're right,
have,
he absolutely does.
they can't have an atmosphere of that kind of thing going on at work.
I think his hands would be dirty if he didn't report it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And since we all still think that DeCosta should report this to the EEO office, what would you specifically report to them? And for instance, if you want, we can have two of you kind of role play. One could be a lawyer and the other could be DeCosta. But the only thing for the person being DeCosta is you can only report what you overheard Julia saying. So you can't say that you've seen anything, and she hasn't even named the alleged harasser. So would you want to try that one?
Sure.
Okay. Who would like to go ahead and be the lawyer?
I'll be the lawyer.
Alrighty.
Okay. Want me to be DeCosta?
Sure.
What?
Okay. And I'll let you two kind of take over and give us a role play of how that conversation would go.
So you want me to be DeCosta then? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for meeting with me today. Though I feel like we have a matter here that's really serious, needs to be addressed immediately.
Well, I'm here for it. What's your issue?
Well, yesterday I overheard a conversation with the secretary, and she was talking to somebody on the phone, talking about being sexually harassed at work, and she was obviously upset about it. I haven't seen anything, and I haven't heard her say anything to anybody, just what I overheard on the phone. But obviously from the way she was talking about it, it was really bothering her, and I believe it's true.
Have you talked to her about this?
I have not. I'm afraid to approach her about it. Actually, we did. I brought her into my office a little bit later, but she was worried of anybody finding out about it. She was worried that her husband would have taken it into his own hands, and she's also worried that she might get fired over it.
Well, by law, you're supposed to report stuff like this.
Right.
And if you don't, you can, I guess, be found liable as well for covering up, or I guess allowing a certain manner of conduct to go by unnoticed in the office.
That's why I'm talking to you today. I feel that it really should be reported. I feel that this is something that should not be tolerated at work.
Are you ready to reveal her name, or do you have any other facts other than just the phone conversation you overheard?
I can tell you, in confidence, yeah, we should probably tell you who it was, but I don't know who she was talking to on the phone, and I really don't have proof of who it was that was doing this to her, but I do know that it was somebody in the office.
Okay.
I don't have any direct proof.
I'm not really sure where to go next.
That's okay. No,
As
you're really
Alex,
fine.
not as the lawyer.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. You two did excellent. Thank you very much. That was actually really good. And that's more or less what I would expect the conversation like that to go about is once DeCosta was able to go and inform the lawyer, that's when the lawyer would most likely go and try to contact Miss Martinez, and then they could kind of go from there and figure out more of what all had been going on. So now that we kind of have our conversation with the lawyer, I kind of want to play another role game with you. I know, I'm sorry, I'm full of games. So I have 4 roles that need to be filled. You all can take your pick. I don't mind. The first role that I would need to be fulfilled is the potential victim of harassment. It doesn't have to be Miss Martinez in this case, or if you want, you could be her. Does not matter. I would need also, for number 2, an accused harasser. So someone that is being a little bit too full of themselves and being a brat. Number 3 is I need the bystander who unfortunately didn't want to be in that situation. And then number 4, I need the legal counsel.
I'll be the harasser.
Okay.
I can be the bystander.
All right.
I guess I'll be the lawyer again.
Okay.
And I'll be the potential victim.
Okay, perfect. Now that we have our roles, let's see. Okay, so I want you guys to kind of think, now that you have your roles, if you were to go and create your own company sexual harassment policy, what would you, in your role, have in that policy? What do you think is some of the most important things that need to be in that policy?
So am I like looking for loopholes because I'm a sexual harasser?
You could to a degree. That's actually a really good point. You definitely could, and that way those that are either the victim or a bystander, we can find ways to be able to come up with rules or policies or procedures for certain events that others, for example, the accused harasser who's trying to get out of it, might think of. So that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I would definitely.
We need to define what we need to define what harassment is.
Okay, so let me go.
There's two.
I have my notes up real here. So basically, there's 2 types of sexual harassment, which we know. The quid pro quo, which James was discussing earlier, is basically an exchange of job benefits for sexual favors. So for instance, you either sleep with me or you're fired. That's about the clearest example. And then the hostile work environment is basically, this is what it says. So one isolated incident is not typically enough to back a claim of hostile work environment harassment. Hostile work environment harassment involves behavior that has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's work performance or creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. So if you were to be able to come up with a sexual harassment policy, what would be some of the things involved that you would try to have in place to prevent those 2 types of sexual harassment?
Well, the one that comes to mind being the potential victim and basing it off of Julia's demeanor and what she said, I'd have a clause in place saying that no person who makes a claim can be fired.
Yeah, that's good. And all claims would be investigated.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Fired for making the claim. They can still be fired for sexual harassing, right? Otherwise, I could make a claim and then be immune to getting fired, and I can go harass people all day long.
Well, that would be a separate claim. That would be a separate case.
That would be a separate claim.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that.
I do feel, Alex, if you wanted to, if, for instance, how Aaron brought up the fact that people who made a claim would not be fired, in a sense, I also feel if a invalid claim is made, so for instance, say you don't like this person, you're just like, his tie is weird, I'm going to say he touched me inappropriately. If that claim of hers turns out to be false, you could, in a sense, kind of countersue her for defamation of character. Because essentially she's talking things about you that aren't true that could hurt your career.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But again, that's why we have the investigation.
Exactly.
So then what do we think about maybe bystander? Matthew, do you have anything in mind that you would want to add to it?
I think one same thing, similar to the victim, making sure that if you're honest in reporting, witnessing, and also supporting the victim, that obviously you wouldn't be fired. But 2, I think also giving bystanders a clear direction of who to go to. As far as, is it a legal system? Is it a specific person in the HR department or a boss? So that way it's, cut and dry. There's no questions about who I need to go to and report. And then also, thirdly, that the bystander, once they're aware of a situation, once they've witnessed something, that immediate action needs to be reported.
I want to add to that too. Also, anonymity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, yeah.
If you don't want your name released on who you like, if you see something that you find offensive, but it was not directed to you, but you should report it, and they don't necessarily need to know who reported it. Anonymity. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
It
all
should
knew what
be.
you were saying.
What's that?
We all knew what you were saying, James. We're good.
I was trying. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah, it should be kept
agree
in confidence.
with that. So yeah, I think lesser situations that would be easier to be done, but I think in bigger cases that may not be something that's possible.
That's excellent. Also, I did have just an idea for the legal counsel side. Anyone that would want to come forward with any information or claim or file whatever type of information where there could be a possible sexual harassment issue, it should be immediately documented. That way, in case for whatever reason, say this isn't this person's first offense, either for the same person or for other people of the office, they at least know, hey, if this guy, to a degree, it turns out they can't prove anything for the first victim and then he starts doing it again, they're going to have that paper trail to be able to catch him. So I think automatic documentation of any file or any claims made should be kept for the business. That way they have it in case it does go to court. They know exactly what's going on and when, and then who it happened to, unfortunately.
And then also, who knows, if he's harassing one person, there might be other people that
Multiple
have not been harassed as well, but haven't said anything either.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Bill Cosby case.
Yep, and that's when, unfortunately, it can sometimes go into a class action lawsuit, which it's never fun, especially for sexual harassment. But
Right.
yeah, if anyone's doing that to multiple people, it's definitely not going to be a good day if it goes into a class action lawsuit. That's when he's going to be like, crap.
Oh, you got him. Yeah. Yep.
And I know
Okay.
from my job that I'm working now, I work for the city where I live. We're required to take sexual harassment courses to teach us about what sexual harassment, like what qualifies as sexual harassment, and it tells us like who to contact, what we're required to do, and that we could be held liable. And if it goes to court and you didn't say anything, stuff happens. And yeah, so that could also be something that we could.
You're right.
I think it,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. I was just going to say that's an excellent point you brought up. In my job, they also do that when we get ready to start our orientation. The first thing we cover, besides job requirements and everything and what we're expected to do, will be a sexual harassment class. And it just goes to show the different types of sexual harassment, what can be constituted as sexual harassment, and essentially how we are expected to behave and what policies we're to follow in case we either encounter it or we witness it or overhear it.
Yeah.
So that's actually really good. I think that's a great step in being able to kind of prevent that stuff from happening in the first place.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, James.
That's okay. I don't have to say it. Okay.
Alrighty. And then I know you all came up with some really good ideas. If you were not in the assigned role that you chose, if you have any other ideas that could be for another role, did you want to share those, or do you think we kind of exhausted some of our ideas?
I think it's just important not to be overly generic or overly specific. Otherwise, people might try and slip through the cracks and say, "Oh, well, the sexual harassment law didn't really cover this aspect. It's kind of a gray area. So how do you expect to, press charges on me for a gray area? It was never fully outlined," and stuff like that. I think it's just important to make sure that all the bases are covered.
Exactly.
I'd rather have a bit more of an extensive sexual harassment policy than one that is like too minimal. people get away with stuff.
Well, you have to have certain things outlined. You have to have certain outline guidelines that to make sure they know this is not acceptable and that is not acceptable and this is not acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But they might say, well, I didn't mean it that way. I was just trying to be funny or trying to make a joke. But absolutely, that needs to be outlined as not acceptable.
Right.
Certain specific things. And I think also another thing that's come under is like off-color jokes or inappropriate pictures. But how you gonna? You got guys working in the shop. How are you gonna stop that from happening? Really? I used to work in a place like that. And that's how they talked. I mean, unfortunately, and it wasn't even to me. It was just to each other. So, I don't know.
So just a quick question. Would you like to hear about how the Lone Star case ended?
No.
No? Why not?
Yes, I do want to know how it ended. I'm kidding.
Okay, no worries. So let me go ahead and read it real quick, and then after I read it, we can go ahead and go through a few more questions. You guys are all doing great. Thank you for bearing with me. We're almost done.
Okay.
Sweet.
So here's essentially what happened. When Jack called corporate counsel, he forgot about caller ID, and the lawyer was able to use the information he gave her to figure out the people he was talking about. So she contacted the Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate. French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up her story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia, Martinez's husband, found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit.
Now he needs to be brought up on charges too.
Yes.
Yeah. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DeCoste and French that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. That was kind of sad to hear when I read that. I'm like, oh.
It's just wrong on so many levels.
Mm-hmm. So with what we know from the case, does anyone know what Lone Star's sexual harassment policy is? And obviously, if there was one, do you feel Jack knew anything about it?
It didn't sound like they really had one.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they did either. And
That's
I know
kind of
if they didn't,
a
Jack
crappy
certainly didn't know.
result. I feel like no justice was served.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have gone about a different way too. She was trying to get transferred into another department. They could have probably helped her do that too,
For sure.
to get her away from. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I also feel that if Martinez had cooperated to the investigation, they would have been able to actually uncover a lot. Because she was not wanting to cooperate.
Right. Well, that
Her
didn't.
husband beat her up. What the heck?
Oh, he needs. He needs to be brought up on charges too.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's why she didn't react, because she's just used to people mistreating her.
That could be. Yeah.
It could be.
In the case when
Anyway,
she didn't know what her husband would do, I thought that he might take action against the guy she was claiming was harassing her, not that her husband would beat her up. I'm like, that's kind of sad.
I know.
I'm actually surprised that he. Well.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna like beat up French.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would have done if I was a husband. I'd have taken him out back behind his head and
Wife,
taught him old school.
what are you doing?
That's not my wife.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So.
Okay, so unfortunately, we now know the ending of the case, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of breaks my heart with what happened. Do you feel that there were? Hold on, let me rephrase that. I'm sorry.
Well, let me. Can I say one thing? You said it had a bad ending, but it did end the problem,
It did.
and I think that's an important part of it. Is to stop that. There should be none of that at all ever on the job. So I'm so okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're okay. So then, I want you guys to see if you can think, I know it's on the spot. What policies, procedures, or training might have helped improve the situation Jack had found himself in?
He should have planted a bug on Martinez. Got some evidence.
Put a camera up there.
Yeah, Martinez, Frank, start planting bugs.
Yeah. No, I think. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
If they'd had a sexual harassment training, that would have let everybody know what to do in situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
That would have given them the information they needed on who to go to, what to say, and how to go about it. So I think a sexual harassment training would definitely help.
Oh, yes, for sure. And I know earlier when we were in our larger role-play game, we came up with some policies and everything on what we would have done for our company. Do you feel that those policies that we created as a group would have been helpful to Jack?
I think it would have been helpful to everybody.
You would have prepared everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
They would have been more aware of what needed to be done and what could have been done.
And what,
Right.
yeah, what options they have as well, or what will happen when they report it.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to this, but again, I do have to ask. Would clear policies and procedures have helped to avoid any of the final consequences of this case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you all. We're now at the final part where it just says final wrap up and feedback. I know you guys have done an amazing job. Thank you for dealing with me as team leader. I'm still not used to being a team leader. Hopefully I'll get better by the
you
next
did
time I
fine.
have to do it.
Yeah.
You did fine.
Yay, thank you guys.
Yeah.
So then with this for the feedback and wrap up, I just have 3 questions to ask you guys. And the first one is, what do you feel is the most important thing that you learned from this case?
I think go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I was just like a sigh of I don't know. Cute. So go ahead.
I was going to say open communication. You know, don't keep things hidden. Report things that you know aren't right. I think that's a big part of it. It's open communication.
Yeah, I think to protect victims and then also to prevent future victims, you have to hit the problem head on immediately.
Yeah, I agree with that immediately. So.
For sure. I know a lot of ways that companies will try and take that problem head on is, of course, through sexual harassment training. They constantly will have basically like overviews at my store because I work at a grocery store, and every once in a while, about every 6 months to a year, we have someone from corporate. They come in, they will basically say, hey, we're having another sexual harassment orientation. And again, they just make sure everyone knows what the policies are, what's to be expected, the different types of sexual harassment and how it can be found. And just they try to bring awareness to everyone in the company. That way, hopefully, whether it's a customer harassing someone or it's another employee, everyone is aware of what it is that needs to be going on in that moment. That way, no one, unfortunately, gets hurt from this.
How big is the store you work at? How many employees?
I want to say about maybe 200, including night crew.
200?
Yeah.
And what's the turnover rate, employee turnover rate?
I don't count transferring because when they transfer, they essentially just go to another store in our district. I want to say maybe about 5 to 7%.
That's low. That's good.
Yeah, the most turnover we get is essentially from, they are our baggers. We call them courtesy clerks. Essentially, they bag the groceries. They go collect shopping carts. The main turnover we've had from them is because most of them end up being straight out of high school, or they're still in high school and they try going to a college and they end up getting accepted. And because the distance isn't to where it's accommodating them to be able to work and go to school, that's when a lot of times we've had people leave. But that's essentially been the overturn that we've had. So it's really low.
That is low. That's very low. But the reason why I was wondering why, one of the reasons why they did it so often is because of having to make sure that new employees get trained, make sure that everybody understands the policy. That way they cover anybody that gets hired within the next 6 months.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even when they get hired, they go through it. At least for my store, the way our policies are is whenever we have someone that's going to potentially be hired after they pass their background check and they've done their first interview and they're essentially doing their final interview, that's when we go and we give them the full orientation of what their business or their job description will include in more detail. We give them a walk around the store so they know where everything is. And then that's when we do like the sexual harassment orientation. And then again, we just do a repeat, just say, hey, we want to make sure you know what to do. So yeah.
Make sure they know how important it is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know I kind of got diarrhea of the mouth there, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So then my next question is, I would like each of you to essentially kind of rate the over quality of today's discussion from a 0 being, of course, the lowest to a 10 being the highest.
I think you had a good discussion.
Yeah.
I think overall it was a good discussion.
I'd say 10.
Me too.
I would be hesitant to say that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the final question is, let's see. So essentially, this is where you guys get to judge me. All right, have fun with this one. So what did I do as a discussion leader that you liked? And then what do you feel that I could do better for next time?
I liked the role playing. It was interactive. It was good.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it too. Yeah.
You were engaging. You said thanks and good job and stuff after people talked, which was, I guess, encouraging and nice.
Thank you.
And you did come prepared. You had everything ready to go. You didn't say, let me think, what was the next, you didn't struggle for your next, you had everything right there in front of you. You did well.
Thank you. Okay, and then with that in mind, do any of you feel that there's something that I could do better for the next time I'm discussion leader besides bring pizza?
If you could get
figure out. Yeah.
If you could figure out how to share pizza over the internet, you'd be a billionaire.
You would not need this class anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been trying to master. I'm still not quite there yet. Like, I have the pizza, I can show it, I just can't transfer it into your screens and into your hands. When I have that figured out, I will let you guys know and I will share pizza with you.
We'd be the first ones to try it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Real quick, I know we finished with the case discussion. Did you want to go over the doohickey problem for, I believe it's due in week 8?
Yeah, we should probably talk about who's submitting and who's going to take what parts.
Okay.
And also what subjects are going to be covered in the next 3 weeks.
Right. So then with that, I'm not too sure on doohickeys. I'm still trying to learn this. It's a new process. Because we're starting it in week 5, does that mean that I would submit it in week 8, or does the week 8 group leader submit it?
Anyone can do it.
Oh, anyone can? Okay.
Yeah.
Then if you want, I can submit it. I would just need everyone to send me their piece and I can format it all together and get it all in one document.
So how did it work last time for week 5 when we submitted it for week 5?
I submitted it on Monday. So I just compiled everything, put it in the right format, and then I submitted it Monday evening.
So that seemed to work pretty good.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I know I can definitely get a Google Doc up and running that way. If you all want to just write it on that, we can do it. Okay.
That works for me.
You want to do Google Docs? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then 3 of us can take 3 different subjects and then do the description and then the 3 the 3 solutions.
Problem and then solution.
There's 3 problems, and for each problem, somebody has to come up with 3 solutions.
4 solutions.
Or the 4? Okay, 4 solutions. Okay.
So is it the same thing as last time, just with a new doohickey case?
It's the same company, it's just 3 different topics.
Yeah.
Oh.
This
You get
time
a lot of problems.
Oh, this place, yeah. If it was a real company, it wouldn't need to be worried. It wouldn't need to be running. I went through the next 3 topics of the next 3 lessons, lessons 6, 7, and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting and hiring, career development and training, and motivation and safety.
Okay.
Those are the 3 topics we're covering in the next 3 weeks.
And we pull that information from the original doohickey case we read.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. I'm following.
Yep.
And we write it up the same way as we did the last one, just talking about these other problems.
Right. Honestly, I don't mind writing about either of those. If anyone wanted me to tackle any of those, just say whatever you want me to do. Does not matter. I'm not picky on which part I do.
Okay. Now, the thing is, also, I think they said the same person that does the discussion group should not be the one that submits the doohickey. I think you were discussion group last week, weren't you, Matt?
Yep. So I don't know how big of a problem that is, but
I don't think it's a big problem. I just think they don't want everybody. They just don't want a couple people doing everything for everybody. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Someone getting
split everything up
overworked.
equally.
yeah,
What's that?
it was fine with me though.
Okay.
It's really not that. It's not that much work.
Yeah. No, especially if everybody else does most of the writing.
Yeah. As long as it's a group effort, it's just sort of the compiling it.
Right. Okay.
I can do like 4 solutions for training, or I can even do 4 solutions for safety at work, just to volunteer for something already.
I can do the motivation.
Motivation?
Okay, that's motivation and safety. So Samantha, you want to do motivation safety?
I believe Aaron wanted to do it. Aaron, were you wanting to do
Oh, I'm
that?
sorry, Aaron. I'm sorry. It was you, Aaron, wasn't it?
It's okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, Aaron, we got you for motivation and safety. Okay.
I can do 4 solutions for training.
And that was Matthew, right?
Actually, it's recruiting and hiring.
Yep. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Reading and hiring? Okay.
And who was wanting to do the Google Docs?
I can set it up. That's not a problem.
Okay, and then what we can do is just somebody, the 3 of us write each section and then put it on Google Docs, and then you submit it.
Okay.
But I think also at the end there was one that Matt put in there, the biggest problem that needs to be tackled first. I think that was on the end, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So need to figure out somebody who could probably have to look at all 3 of them and then figure out which one's the biggest problem to take on first.
Yeah.
Okay, so Samantha, you're going to do the compiling and submitting?
Right. Correct.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is that 4 solutions for motivation and 4 solutions for safety?
No.
Or is it 4 total for both?
Just 4 total for both motivation and safety.
So I
So
can do like 2 for motivation and 2 for safety.
yeah.
Cool. Got it.
Okay, we have one more. I take it back. It was training. There was a section in training. I take it back. Sorry.
Yeah, career development and training.
We need one more for that one.
I can do that one instead, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So you want to do career development and training? Okay.
I'll do the leftover one, whatever one that is. I don't mind.
That one would be the recruiting and no, I'm sorry. That one would be
That's recruiting and hiring, yeah.
Yeah, recruiting and hiring. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
write
it'll be
that down.
Alex. Okay, Alex.
And then James, what were you wanting to do?
What's left?
Essentially, we have the recruiting, hiring, motivation, and safety, and then career development and training. You want to do which one is like the biggest issue at this point?
Okay.
Okay.
So after you compile the three of them together, send them to me,
Okay.
and then I could write up on the biggest issue, and then I could submit it if you want after I'm done with it.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So then I will go and I will have the document set up. Definitely by this evening, I will email it to you. If by any chance you're not able to access it, please let me know. Or if you have a Gmail address, I can email it to you that way. That way you have immediate access to it.
Okay. Yeah. I do have a Gmail. I have to have a Gmail for the Hangouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can send that to you.
Okay.
Or I can give it to you now if you want.
Yeah. Do you want to do it on the chat? That way I can see it and it's easier for me to write it down.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. It's whenever you're ready. Let me know.
Mhm.
J Vanden 2 JVANDEN 2 at STUMAIL dot JCCC with 3 C's.
Okay.
.edu. I know it doesn't say Gmail, but it is a Gmail account. And
That's
it's my student account from the junior college that I went to here in Kansas.
Okay.
And it works
then,
just fine.
I have it in the group chat box. I just typed it in. Would you just go over it real quick and let me know whether or not I have it written down correct?
You want me to go over it again?
Are you able to open the chat box?
Where's the chat box?
It popped up for me on the right side of the screen.
Yeah, it's on the right side, and it's at the very top. It'll have a blue box
Yep.
with 3 white lines.
That's it. That's correct. Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That's it.
Did anyone else have an address they wanted me to add in there, or are you all okay with the emails that I use to contact you?
I'm good with that. I have it forwarding to my Gmail anyways.
Okay.
I can give you my Gmail.
Okay.
as well.
I just emailed you mine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, Matthew, whenever you're ready.
N M W A W R O 1 at Gmail.
Okay, and I'll have you go over it and just make sure I spelled that correctly.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. So then I'll have that set up. I will end the broadcast, and then once it's uploaded to YouTube, I will be able to go and just kind of do our write-up paper and submit it to the teacher, and then that way I can also email you all the link. That way if you want to watch the video, you can.
Perfect.
Sounds
All right.
good to
Sounds
me.
great. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you.
So I will, perfect. I'll see you all next week.
All right. See you. Have a good weekend.
Who's the group leader next week?
Who's number
Group leader next week.
I guess I could check my email.
Oh, I sent everybody an email that had that in it, but I can look it up real quick too. Next, what's that?
Is it you?
Actually, I think it's me. I think it is me. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it's me next week.
Okay. I just want to
Perfect.
make sure
Yep.
we,
Okay.
we're on top of that. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Samantha.
Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody, too.
You all have a good one.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.